Hi, my name is Anna, and I came here today to tell you my story about my life and my addiction. Um, I led a pretty normal life as a kid. I had great parents. You know, uh, I was upper middle class. My mom was in education, and they did everything they could to give me a leg up in life. And when I was about 15, teenagers trying to find their identity and whatnot, um, I I started dating a boy, and I started smoking cigarettes, and then smoking marijuana, and just things that teens do when they party or whatnot, drinking. And you never know when you start that it could end up badly. You hear all the warnings, especially as a teenager, which is usually when that kind of stuff presents itself. You never think it's going to be you. And, I started dating this boy, and we were together for a while, and, I started partying more, and um, I got pregnant when I was 16. And the second I found out I was pregnant, I quit smoking cigarettes, I quit doing everything. And, that's one of the reasons I didn't think I was a drug addict. And maybe back then I wasn't, but I was well on my way to becoming a drug addict. And I had my daughter in 2009, and beautiful, happy, healthy little girl. And then I got married to her dad when I was 17. He went in the military, and I moved on to a military installation. And I wasn't doing drugs. I drink occasionally with the neighbors and whatnot. And then and he wasn't doing drugs either. He was the person that I started doing drugs with initially. Um, Started drinking more and more, and when I were at the neighbor's house, and he, um, in a blackout drunk, he picked me up and broke my back. And after that, I had some issues with pain pills. I couldn't walk for about 2 months. But I started doing a lot more pain pills more frequently, to the point that I didn't know, or I couldn't really function without them. Even after my back had healed, and I still had some nerve pain and stuff, I didn't know that when I woke up in the morning and I didn't have pain pills, the reason that I felt sick and I couldn't do anything, and it wasn't just physical, it was mental. I didn't realize that was the beginning of a real addiction starting to develop. And I had some depression issues, and after that happening, I couldn't be with him anymore, and I left him. So I got a divorce. I got married at 17. I was divorced by 19. A few months after I left him, I moved back to my hometown, where I knew everyone that I used to party with in high school. And um, after losing my first love and whatnot, and becoming addicted to opiates, I spiraled out. It only took about 3 months before I landed myself in treatment. And I wasn't just in treatment for pain pills, I was also doing meth and basically anything I could get my hands on. It became me needing to drown whatever it was that was making me feel the way I was. And I learned later on what that was, in many different places. So I went to 90 days of treatment, and you're in this little world where you're cut off from everything. You don't have the choice to do it, so you're able to get away from it for a while. But inpatient treatment, eventually they have to stick you back out in the real world. And even with the buffer of having a sober living house, which I lived in for 2 months, and the fact that I went to inpatient treatment out of state, I when I got out, I wasn't around all the people that I used to be. So that first time, I had probably about 11 months sobriety and moved back to my hometown. Um, and I relapsed, and for a short period of time. Um, and let's see, after that, I just had a few years on and off of drinking and doing other things, and it just got worse and worse. I've always said that my disease is progressive, even when I am sober, even when I'm in recovery, which I believe are two different things. Just being sober and having the gift of recovery are two different things to me. So let's see. I'm forgetting where I was, but even when I was sober, my disease is progressive, which means that no matter how long I go without using, I know that this is a lifelong disease for me, and no matter how long I go without using, my disease is in the corner doing push-ups, waiting to sneak its way back into my life. I could go into a whole bunch of stuff about addiction, but I mean, just in telling my story, there were times that I was hospitalized. I'd given myself staph infections. It just, every single time, it never failed, that it just spiraled out of control. I am in drug court now. I went to another inpatient treatment center. I lost custody of my daughter because I'd relapsed and I failed a drug test for marijuana. And when I lost custody of her, who had always had custody, even when I went to treatment, my family was really supportive in taking care of her. When I lost her, I lost custody to her dad. I really lost it, and it was another one of those things where in about 3 months I was back in inpatient treatment. So I went to inpatient treatment in another state again, and I got out, and I wasn't doing meth and heroin like I had been, but I relapsed again, and I was drinking and I was smoking marijuana. I got some charges right before. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around. I'd gotten a few felonies. I'd never been a felon, and I always kind of flew below the radar. But I got 4 felony charges about a year and a half ago, and after those felony charges is when I decided to go to treatment. So after treatment, I relapsed on alcohol and marijuana, and then I was able to plea into the drug court program. The drug court program, in my opinion, is a lot better than inpatient treatment, because it allows me to live my life in the real world with the structure and the accountability that I need to really change my life. It allows me to get up every day and take care of my kids and, go to work and get used to going to AA and, working with my counselor in the real world. Drug court, there's certain things we do. I have court, in the beginning you go every single week, and then they let up each time you phase up, you go a little less. I have my counseling, I have individual counseling sessions with my counselor, Tanya, who's amazing, at the Virtue Center. And I also have group counseling or group therapy at the Virtue Center, and that's proven to be immensely helpful. That and AA are 2 of the things that I couldn't do this without. Let's see, my family, there's a big stigma about drug addicts and what they look like and who they are, where they come from, and this disease does not discriminate. One of my parents has a PhD, the other one was a vice president of an oil and gas corporation. They never drank when I was growing up. They've never had problems with drugs, nothing like that. And somehow, it happened to me. It's one of those things that it just doesn't discriminate. My family has been incredibly helpful in the fact that they didn't enable me when I was using. And now that I was given that chance to give them a living amends, which to me is, as a drug addict, I've said I'm sorry a million times, and it never meant anything to me. It was just words. So when I really decided to change my life, saying I'm sorry didn't seem like it would suffice. So I did a living amends where each and every day I apologize by changing myself, every action that I make, And my mom the other day sat down and she told me, she was like, "You don't play the victim anymore. Everything used to be somebody else's fault. It wasn't your fault. You were the victim of this happened to you and this happened to you." And she was like, "You don't do that anymore. You take responsibility for your actions." But now I have the clarity to take responsibility for my actions. I'm not delusional anymore. Um, but the biggest thing I can say about all this is it's a disease. It's not something that, although drug court, if you mess up and you get sanctioned and you relapse, you get what they call a sanction and you go to jail. And for some things like, not calling in at your curfew, you might get volunteer or community service. Now, the reason that I don't believe that prison is a good option for drug addicts is because it's really a disease. I mean, there's a disease model, and I've learned a lot about that being here at the Virtue Center. But it's truly a disease that it's curable. It's something I'm always going to have, but the Virtue Center and Alcoholics Anonymous has armed me with the tool belt that I need to be a successful mother, daughter, wife, and just an all-around, good member of society. Today what my life looks like is I have a 2-month-old little girl and an 8-year-old little girl. I'm a mother of 2 daughters. I'm engaged, and I pay all my bills on time. I go to work. I went back to college for my psychology degree. It's something I have a passion about. I would like to go into, I'd like to be a licensed chemical dependency counselor. That's my passion. It's something that I wouldn't be in the place that I am in today without the counselors, the therapists, everybody that's dedicated their life to helping me. I wouldn't be who I am today. And I know that not only am I thankful for that, but my family, my kids get to have a mother worth having today. And that's ultimately what's been most important to me. It's one of those things. I'd love to do it for my kids and for my family and whatnot. But another thing is I've learned I have to do it for me. I have to put myself first, because if I don't put myself first, I get tricked. My addiction tricks me back into sinking back into my addiction. That was kind of, sorry. But if I put my sobriety and God first, then I'm able to be the mother that I can be. I didn't go a whole lot into the nitty gritty of my story, my experience, strength, and hope. I tried to more focus on the strength and hope part, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And I used to dread if I was even going to have a tomorrow when I was in my addiction. I'm looking forward to being healthy and happy and just being a normal person. Normal people take that for granted. When you're on the floor and you can't walk and you're paranoid that the police are going to be at your door, and you can't get out of bed without being sick because you haven't found what you need, to make your body right again. That's no way to live. So being normal is my goal. Don't take it for granted. But I think that's all I've got today. Thank you.